Hello everyone and welcome back to this warning shot, and we are now going to close out this thing with one more run, and this one is a special one, so I do hope you're going to enjoy it. This is dlimes13 running Metal Gear Solid Integral, all bosses extreme. This is the run that closes GDQ. Take it away, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm dlimes. I'll be running this at GDQ, as Nick said. We'll be playing on Extreme, all bosses on the PlayStation TV. We'll get into some of the specifics as I do my thing here in the docks. So time is going to begin when I select Extreme here in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
So what do we have here? Probably one of the biggest years for this game in a very long time, folks. And it's very exciting to see this category being run again after many, many years at AGDQ. I think the last time this category was at the event was Slade. It's a long time.
What, like 7 years ago or something? It's been a long time for sure.
And this category has changed pretty dramatically since then.
Yeah, so we're going to start on the docks here by farming some alerts. We want to get at least 5 or 6 alerts in order to have some RNG manipulation later on from when we retrieve the PAL key. Instead of dealing with the rat, we're going to be dealing with various drainage ditch spawns, which more often than not is better than dealing with the rat as far as time.
Yeah, it's there's a certain kind of technique in terms of pacing yourself out to these alerts. It's not too strict, but the problem is on Extreme, we do not have a whole lot of health to work with, and we get no health gain from any boss defeat, and you can only carry at max 1 ration throughout the whole game, and it doesn't even heal you that much. So everything about this category is pretty absurd, and arguably the first 30 minutes of this run are the hardest because you are at this health for the rest of this sequence throughout the first 30 minutes. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, so it's 2 shots to death. I have a ration right now that I got from a guard, and that is complete random. You get rations only from guards. They don't spawn anywhere in the game on Extreme. But you get them more often than the docks than not, so it's nice to get one to start with just to give you a little bit of cushion. So we're going to knock on the wall here at a specific time to lure this guard out. Punch him, try to get one more cheap alert here. Did not really important, but we kicked him for fun, which is always a nice feeling.
I think it's funnier when he just doesn't understand what happened.
Right.
Either way, it's goofy. So the heliport, we're going to continue our streak of being completely stealthy. Yeah, I think that's the proper word.
I think so.
And immediately run into the searchlight, because that is faster, and that'll get us our first weapon, which is not really a weapon, but according to the game, it's a weapon, which is the Chaff Grenade. Running with a weapon equipped does increase your speed. About every 10 seconds, you save about a second or so. Pretty useful. Unless you are using the lower speed as part of a buffer, which is a strategy for certain things. Very clean movement from Limes, making the guard miss him completely. Very important to just not get hit. I'm going to probably say that several times throughout this run, but the more you get hit, the scarier this run gets.
Yeah, like Plywood said, you don't get any health refills. So if I took a hit right there, I'd be at half health. I do have the ration, but it doesn't do much until we get past, say, the first wolf fight. I mean, it's health management is priority number 1.
Yeah, so generally what people do when they run this category is, compared to the lower difficulties, a lot more safety in terms of the strategies because of the limited health pool you have. And to top it all off, bosses tend to be more aggressive, they have more health, so there's a lot more risk involved because of that.
What was that noise?
Patiently waiting for this guard to throw him. There is a strategy where you throw a chaff to distract the guard, but we want to save our chaff for later. Weapon ammo in this run is pretty tight. When you pick up something in the environment, it's gone forever. On the lower difficulties, eventually ammo respawns. It's not like that on extreme. It's kind of like realism mode. You pick up ammo, that ammo was picked up by you earlier. So sorry if you waste your ammo. So we want to be very thoughtful with our ammo resources and our management of both our health and our ammo.
Especially with a weapon like the Chaff Grenades, which you'll see later on. It is one of the most powerful weapons in the game. You can get out of a lot of situations with Chaff Grenades. They're just awesome. You can never have enough.
Yeah, and there's a certain point in this run that if you do not have chaff grenades on extreme, you are in a really bad situation. So what we're coming up to is the guard fight extraordinaire TM cell fight guard rush super primo plus. This fight in part relies on Meryl and also our ability to spam bullets well. These guards take a lot of damage on extreme. They take the most out of every difficulty.
What are you waiting for? Shoot!
Don't talk to me like a rookie.
And that first wave is
Shoot!
really the worst part of the fight since Meryl does not assist us. And we're dealing with guards that take a ton of damage. And since they take so many bullets, more often than not, you're going to run out of ammo. So bringing in the chokes into the combination helps a lot. I'm hoping Meryl does her job and actually shoots these dudes that are coming in.
All right, not too bad. The nice thing is they drop a lot of rations here, so if you get shot at the beginning, you can just pop a ration. They'll drop a couple. I always try to use a ration right at the end of the fight, pick one up, and then I'm at full health with the ration going into the later part of the game.
Yeah, getting that little top off, because that's pretty much after this, what you have is what you have.
Exactly.
There's no more courtesies until we get captured, and there's a lot of difficult bosses in the first part of the game. So next thing we're going to be doing is blowing a hole through a wall to go fight Revolver Ocelot, the first boss of the game, even though that guard fight is pretty brutal, especially if you're going for big boss rank.
And here is Revolver Ocelot. He is Usain Bolt on extreme, runs very, very fast.
Yeah, we do a loop method to keep him stuck in a rotation of turning around, shooting the wall, turning around, shooting the wall. But if you mess this up, he's going to get away from you very quickly on extreme. Now, you can keep up with him, but a rookie would have some problems. But dlimes is not a rookie, unlike that person we were dealing with earlier in the cell.
And again, more mashing of these codecs. Got to mash these manually. Can't skip these. You can skip these codecs if you play the PC version of this game with the touch of a button, but on console, you are mashing.
Most of the codecs for all bosses aren't that bad, but there is one in particular that's particularly heinous. If we actually had to call Meryl here, that one is also horrible, but thankfully we skipped that because we really do not want to talk to or deal with Meryl at all. What we're going to do is use what we call the vent glitch to go out of bounds, which involves going halfway into the vent, looking up in first-person view while crawling, and then letting go of both up and triangle, and then pressing X. And then you will stand on top of the vent, and that'll allow us to completely avoid calling Meryl and going through that laser hallway.
Yeah, so all in all, that saves, so about a minute or so, give or take. So now coming up is the tank fight, which can be a bit of a hassle on extreme because of a particular line you have to take.
Yeah, as the difficulties increase, the tank starts activity earlier. On hard and extreme, the tank starts immediately trying to shoot you. So every line is a little bit different because of that. We're going to disable the tank with the chaff, and that's going to stop the tank from shooting the tank around, which would just kill us. We don't want that. And then it's all about cooking and throwing at exact positions and times. It's really not that hard of a fight once you understand all those elements. It's just following the plan. But if you go off the plan, this fight gets really dicey very quickly, and you'll probably die on extreme. So
yeah, if you get a non-critical hit there or you miss a grenade entirely, it's almost better to just take the death just because you don't want to end that fight with low health anyway. So that fight can just get really hairy. But that was a really good fight, really consistent, clean fight.
yeah, that was one of those fights compared to the remake on extreme. That fight is much harder on extreme in the speedrun for Twin Snakes. Here, that guard heard our footsteps. It's totally fine. We'll take the opportunity to pick up the chaff grenades, which will be super useful later on. Before we go to the second floor basement, we need to pick up the Nikita launcher, which is in the office over here. That way we can... Yeah, very, very important indeed. Also, you want to cut over like dlimes does into the main area of the office. If you watch other runs of the other difficulties, you'll see people cut up, which is a bit faster, but the guard vision is so good on extreme, they'll spot you as you exit.
Yeah, if you ever like enable the radar on extreme and you can see their cones, they are just so gigantic. They can see so far on extreme, it's ridiculous.
Thankfully, this part is still pretty simple on extreme. They didn't make this like ridiculous destroying this electric panel, but the ninja fight does have some funky things when it comes to extreme that changes how we approach the fight compared to easy. Most people, when it comes to running this game, it's easy or extreme. In the middle, difficulties are in a kind of a strange spot. But most people run easy. And if you compare this run to easy, it's fairly similar, but if you just like follow the same steps you would on easy, you're probably going to die for most of the fights.
It's a ghost.
So the ninja fight coming up, we're going to be doing a bunch of punch kick attacks. We're not going to be using any of our weapons. It won't do any damage to him. And he runs very fast, so we got to keep him in close quarters, make sure he doesn't run away. Otherwise the fight can get really hairy.
Yeah, you can shoot the gun to keep him stuck in place, like make him deflect and then attack him, but that is not really what you want to do. You just want to keep up with him. He moves really fast on extreme. And it's very important here to keep your gun out rather than on the lower difficulties. We tend to suggest people not keep their weapon out. We want to actually make him see that we have a weapon out, because otherwise he will like just launch into an attack and will get hurt. We don't want that. But he moves super fast on extreme, so you got to keep up. But it's just a matter of catching him. So you just have to know your spacing and your timing. It's really not that bad. Fun fact, you can actually catch the ninja when he does that downward kick attack, but it's just very risky on extreme to be doing that, because if you mistime it, you're going to get hurt, and like we said, damage management is supremely important.
At my current health, it would take me down to 1 HP if I got hit by that.
So hide and seek, you'll notice that Limes is crouching, and the reason behind that is the ninja will exit hide and seek very quickly. So if the ninja lands somewhere really far away, it's not worth trying to meet him. He'll just attack you. But if you crouch, he will do that dive kick, and it's a lot safer than him trying to slash you with his sword. And now he tries to throw his nasty punch. This thing is absolutely absurd on extreme. It comes out really quickly. He keeps himself stealthed. What you're seeing Limes go for is a positional trick. If you get yourself in just the right distance, you can actually attack the ninja without him getting close to you. But if you screw up, which it's pretty easy to, you gotta recognize it and move the heck out of the way very quickly. You do not want to get hit by this punch. It's brutal. You may see that his kick is returning to his leg, returning back to the ground really quickly. It's a very key technique in this fight called the kick cancel. You just press X. You can press X at any time while you're throwing the kick out.
Yep.
Oh gosh!
That was close.
I heard that noise, and I just stopped. I was terrified. But we were good.
Audio is very important in this game. Oh my goodness.
Anyways, so the kick cancel. Not only you can cancel the end animation of a kick or interrupt yourself during the kick and then return yourself to like a neutral state so you can start moving earlier. Very important for that fight. It makes you move more quickly, and if you recognize that a combo is not going to work, just press X and run away.
Yeah, that was a very good, consistent fight until that last little spot at the end, but I recognized that the bull didn't hit, so I got away. If he would have hit me with his attack there, it wouldn't have been that much health gone, but still, I want all the health I can get, especially for the next boss fight coming up.
Yeah, it's just really annoying to be, like, relatively speaking, the ninja isn't too hard of a fight if you're playing for consistency. And whereas the next two fights are pretty brutal.
All right, so we're going to be making our way back up to B1. We're going to take a slight detour real quick to grab some stun grenades. Very powerful weapon, just like the chaff grenades. Need those for the next fight.
Yeah, like, every grenade in this game is actually ridiculous. They're all very powerful in their own ways, but I'd say probably the stuns are the most ridiculous out of all of them.
I would agree with that.
So
we're gonna grab this cardboard box for later, so we can do an out of bounds.
Limes, that's cheating. What are you doing?
Hey man, I do what I gotta do.
Don't move.
Save the world at all costs.
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
Sadly, this part is completely unskippable, but it's a nice little breather before Mantis. So Mantis, probably the most famous boss fight from this game. There's a whole trick where you swap the ports from port 1 to port 2. We're on the PlayStation TV, which is a PlayStation Vita home console thing. So you're going to see, unless you, do you have both of your controllers connected? I'm guessing you
I do.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So you won't see him pop up the menu, but you could do that to switch ports. So he's just going to switch the second controller. This fight, Mantis just has an absurd amount of health on extreme. It's ridiculous. He takes so little damage. And the problem with that is that we're going to see way more of the fight than we prefer to see if we're coming from like easy difficulty. Nice little throw that was found by Limes, if I recall correctly. That actually saves a little bit of time compared to just entering the room as normal, because part of it is getting Marilyn as quickly as possible. It saves like half a second or something. Anyways, Mantis, we're going to be seeing a lot more of his attacks. And this fight is super technical. It really tests your aiming skills, which aiming in this game is a bit funky. It's very 1998. Nice little setup here, aiming upright during the pivot, and you'll be able to get an easy shot on Mantis, then looking in first person to see where he's transporting. The reason why Limes picked up the FAMAS earlier is precisely for this fight. It helps a lot to be able to just fan your shots rather than precisely aim the gun at Mantis. So the chair attack happens, then the busts come out, then he will try to throw. Oh, he threw the bus again. He sometimes throws these. He sometimes throws these really like. There's like an order to his attacks, but sometimes he'll just throw a curveball at you and say, you know, instead of throwing the taxidermy at you, I'm now going to do bus twice and then do the urns. By the way, these urns are horrible, and that was a really good grenade throw. That was super well done. That throw is really tight, guys. Really tight, folks. So the whole goal is to throw a grenade at Mantis to cause him to warp himself into the next phase of the fight, which is Meryl trying to shoot us. If you do enough damage, you can get it to the point where Meryl will just fall back down automatically. But otherwise, you just throw a stun grenade.
Stop! Meryl!
Yeah, in order to do that, you have to deal 23 shots at the start instead of 19. It's not worth going for those extra 4.
Yeah, it's worth the sacrifice of the stun. And once again, going to throw the grenade here to get him out of the teleporting around. Now he's just going to throw the kitchen sink at us. If you're on PC, you can easily use first-person view to shoot Mantis during this, but really it's just in the timing and paying attention to the environment. You know, just count out the invincibility frames. Ducking is super powerful here. If you're playing this game casually on this difficulty, use ducking. The only thing is that if the urn lands directly over Snake's head, really good fight. Really good fight. If the urn lands directly over Snake's head and you're crouched, it'll hit you, so you have to go prone. But regardless, that was super clean. Super clean. And you like emptied your FAMAS like perfectly. That is surgical dlimes13 for you right there.
And I still have all my health. I have not taken a lick of damage yet, which is very nice.
This is the ideal situation going into Wolf 1, which is the next boss of the game. And if you were fighting Wolf 1 standard, like what is intended, and we'll get to that later. We're doing an out of bounds here with a cardboard box. You use the vent glitch to go up onto that little ledge, and the box lets us slip our body through the wall and go out of bounds here and completely skip dealing with the dogs. Doing this does save time. It's only a few seconds, but part of it is just not dealing with the harassment of the dogs. They're really annoying.
All right, then we get a nice little breather here for about a minute.
This place is mine. I'll take point.
Yeah.
Stay back, okay?
But the radar isn't working.
After
We can't use the mine
the
detector.
brutality of
Leave it to me.
everything after the docks is just, sweating bullets for the most part. You do a little bit of sitting around, but it's all go, go, go on extreme.
Yeah, Meryl wants us to just follow the footprints, avoid these claymore mines, which, yeah, we'll avoid them for sure.
So, what do you think? Pretty good, huh?
Like I said earlier, the less we have to deal with Meryl's nonsense, the better. And this is probably the most prime example of it.
Are you impressed?
Well, a little bit.
Bet you if I practice enough, I could do that blind.
I think you're capable of it, yeah.
Yeah.
What's harder, Mantis on extreme or that little movement? You decide,
No,
folks. You decide.
I think it's that for sure. That movement is very, very precise.
Yeah, if you don't press the exact direction, you will fail. Anyways, so Meryl's getting shot. That's the last time we're ever going to see Meryl. R.I.P. Probably. So this is the one and only time we have to deal with the dogs, but if you throw a stun grenade at the right time, it's not that big of a deal. It's just you throw a stun grenade as you're going prone into the
That's stuck
crawl
on a wall
space.
there.
Yeah, that right there is something people have started doing in recent times, more so in like the last year or so. That was something that was in the Englishman's task, which is doing the backtrack vent glitch on that ledge. It saves like 2 seconds if you do it first try, but it is a bit tricky to get in that position. That crawl space is pretty annoying. Even on the other side, like, you have to be very precise and thoughtful about your positioning and your movement.
Anybody that knows me, I am terrible at vent glitch for whatever reason.
So we're heading back to the tank hangar so we can get the Psg-1 Rifle. Very great weapon. Arguably the most overpowered bullet weapon in the game, if we're talking just any version of this game. It completely busts the PC version wide open. In this version, it's just a rifle for the most part.
I've been running this game for 3 years, and it's terrifying going through this canyon full of claymore mines every time to do that line.
Yeah, your heart skips a beat while you're doing that little adjustment to get directly in the middle of that lane, that snow lane. Because if you get hit by that claymore on extreme, just say sayonara. You're gonna die. So the armory has a different guard route when you have the rifle here. We're going to pick up all the ammo, use a stun to knock all the guards out, and then after we pop open this door, knock this guard over and position ourselves right by the elevator panel and turn to it once the evasion clears. Very cleanly executed. It is fairly easy to mess that up. The movement coming back to the elevator. Limes did get cut off for a little bit, and he was fine, but you have to be thoughtful about your lines. Just this whole sequence, you gotta be thinking about how well you're moving. Thankfully, coming back through the canyon isn't as bad as going down. All right, so there's a few different ways to approach this room. The safest thing to do is to go along the right side. It's faster than going left side. All you have to do is throw this guard and throw a chaff, and that'll disable the camera up here. And as long as you're moving relatively quickly, you'll be able to open this elevator before the guard spots you up here. So you're totally going to legitimately fight Wolf 1, right? And show us your sick sniping skills.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's one of the best fights in the game. It's very technical, very precise. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's hard to understate how much your health matters here. If you're coming in here with low health, she could kill you pretty quickly. It's a very brutal, fast game of sniping. But of course, we're going to go out of bounds yet again to save a little bit of time. Once again, avoiding the dogs. It's a twofold benefit.
Wow.
Oh man, that is so wrong.
Well, at least we got the good old weapons glitch. You want to explain what that is?
So what Limes just did was skill. He crawled into the barrier. There's a barrier that's like, hey, don't go past this line. And by initiating damage while prone, he can do a series of inputs. Put very simply, a series of inputs that ends up with him being able to take one weapon and make it act like another weapon. And the game thinks we have a rifle equipped when we don't, and we go past the barrier, and Wolf doesn't understand what's going on, and we punch her and knock her out. Easy peasy. And that was actually quite good. Sometimes what happens is that she runs down below and wastes your time, but she stayed on that second floor, which is really nice. It just was annoying that she shot Limes while he was approaching the barrier, which does happen, but it's super annoying.
Now, normally we would have our choice to either save Meryl or kill Meryl here, commonly seen in marathons. I think at GDQ it's probably going to get met, but since I have the choice here, I am going to save the 3.5 minutes and avoid mashing and just go for pure speed.
I'll have my fun with her before I kill her.
I approve of this decision
I hope you can still look at yourself
wholeheartedly,
in the mirror, my friend.
because dealing with Meryl's nonsense on All Bosses Extreme really makes you be like, yeah, I don't think so. You could do a little bit better in the cell.
Damn, I caught a cold. That witch, she took my clothes. Shut up,
So coming up
will ya?
is the longest codec call in the game. I don't think anyone likes this codec call. It's so bad. So long. On any percent, which involves you essentially going straight to this room in the first 5 minutes of the run. You only get half of it. On all bosses, you get the full two-parter. It's really long. Naomi has a lot to say to us, and it's fairly exhausting. But, I mean, other than this one, most of the codecs that are added to all bosses really aren't that bad.
And having a slow mash can lose time. Like, it does matter.
Yeah, it truly does. It matters a lot on any percent since there's so little game. On all bosses, like, your actual skill with the bosses matters a lot, but any little bit counts. Even all bosses is not, it's not that long of a category, you know, we're talking roughly 90-ish minutes. Which compared to some of the games in the series isn't too long. It's a bit longer, but not super long. This is our friend Johnny. He likes to say hey to us and tell us to shut up and then go on a bathroom adventure. So would you agree that, like, at this point the game sort of lets its foot off the gas a bit and it's a bit easier compared to the first 30 minutes?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the first 25 or 30 is very brutal. You get the breather, but on console it does not let up after this sequence, especially with newer tech coming up with the famous boba skip.
Oh, jeez. He's coming back. See you later.
But first, we have to do what any good infiltrator does and break ourselves out of prison. And I hear that a certain kind of Heinz ketchup has just the right consistency of blood. And thankfully, Otacon gave us that particular brand, so we are good to go.
All right, then we're just gonna grab our stuff and then be on our way. If we were to save Meryl, we would actually have a time bomb we'd have to get rid of, but we don't in this case.
Yeah, you do not want to forget that time bomb. It's an insta-kill. You do get a codec call warning you that you have it, but oftentimes when people run, they just ignore the codec call because we try to ignore most codec calls in this game. They're just like, that's another codec call for me to ignore, but that one in particular is the last moment of warning. Like, you need to get that out of your inventory. So while we are doing a bit of returning here, we should just explain Boba Skip, because during that sequence, should just let Limes focus primarily, but this is the trick that completely flipped this whole game upside down. Every category, every version, every difficulty, just period, unless you're doing glitchless. So what we're going to do is position Snake at a very specific spot and at a specific angle at the frozen door, which I believe is on the 8th floor of the Tower A. And if you get the proper damage animation when Snake takes damage, all the conditions are right, you will be able to phase through the door and end up at the walkway. That saves going all the way up the stairs to the top of Tower A and then using the rappel rope sequence to get back down to the walkway. And a really nice bonus specifically for console is not having to deal with the walkway guards, which is a dicey situation to say the least. They could potentially one-shot kill you on extreme. It has happened. So the only issue with this is that we're supposed to get a full health regain when we get to the top of the tower, which we will not get now, but we also save like 2.5 minutes, so we prefer that.
Yeah, I did grab some extra stun grenades before the Mantis fight, just for safety for this purpose. Normally we wouldn't pick those up, but it's a little bit easier to do on all bosses. Ideally, I'm going to use a stun grenade to try to get through the door. There is a SOCOM backup you can do on all bosses, which I'll try to do, but I really don't want to take a whole lot of damage. because I'm going to need that health for the hind fight afterwards. So it's a very scary thing coming up, and it's RNG whether you get the proper animation or not. It's 50-50.
Yeah, sadly, it's a complete coin flip, and, you know, it's a sacrifice that we're all willing to make, but on extreme, it's pretty terrifying. So there's only so much credit you have in your account before it's game over. Also, another really weird feeling for most of the people who've run this game for a long time is not picking up that rope. It just clutters your inventory. You don't want to pick it up, but it feels really strange and wrong not to pick it up.
Right. So we're going to throw 2 stuns on right before we hit floor 5 and floor 8. And then we're going to get ourselves lined up and hope for the best.
Cross your fingers, folks.
Nice.
Beautiful. That is exactly how it should look. Cleanly executed first try. Your boy Limes is dumping his excess stuns because he doesn't need all this. And that is Boba Skip. And we all have Boba of Yogscast to thank for that, who was playing the game casually and ended up doing that. And we are all the richer and better for it as a speedrunning community. Though, you know, you add a coin flip and you save a few minutes. Okay, I'll take that trade. Coin flip is way better than like 10%, 20%, 50-50. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it saved 10 seconds, you wouldn't be seeing people do it all that often, but 2.5 minutes on console, like, it's a no-brainer. Like, you have to go for it. You'd be a fool not to.
So we went to the bottom to see that Snake is a total coward and won't just take the jump. So we go all the way back up, meet up with Otacon, and we're going to go up the tower to fight the Hind. The Hind won't one-shot us when it attacks us, but really do not want to get shot. It's really mean. Unlike the lower difficulties where you can tank some damage with using rations and, you know, proper positioning, etc., extreme, we want to take a shot, hide, take a shot, hide, until we get to phase 2. At this point, we are just using our chaff as we climb up the stairs. This was the place that I was referring to earlier in the game where if you do not have chaff, you are in huge trouble on extreme. You're going to just get destroyed by these turrets. The turrets do just excessive damage on extreme. It is a pure resource check.
I am purposely missing that stinger pack for later. I'm going to pick it up on exit because I want it for a later boss fight.
Very interesting. I think you would want to pick that up and save the one by the ladder, though.
It's hard to save the one by the ladder. It's very hard to avoid.
It's hard to dodge, yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike the lower difficulties, the Hind only has one lock-on box, but that doesn't actually change the Hind. Like, you can still hit it in the other places. It's just you can't lock on to the other spots of the Hind, if that makes sense. So yeah, you do a shot, hide, let the Hind pass over, shoot it, hope that the stinger actually does its job.
Which it didn't that one time, but that's fine. We got ammo.
Yeah, the stinger can curve a bit. If you watch like Metal Gear Solid 2 or Twin Snakes, you'll see that the Stinger can just curve like wild. MGS1, it can curve, but not quite to the same extent. It's fairly linear. So he wants us to eat this missile. We won't. It's an insta-kill, unless you have a ration equipped. So our goal here is to get the Hind in a lock, a cage, a loop, where it tries to continuously counterattack us. It's all about positioning, so we don't get shot, and then just timing our shots well, so that it just keeps on counterattacking us constantly. But you'll see that Limes is adjusting, and that's again just to try to keep the distance as short as possible between him and the Hind. If the Hind is too far away, it can hit you, and like I said, getting shot by the Hind is not a good policy. Does not feel good. Nice shot. So sadly we got into a backup situation with the Hind, but you can get a shot as the Hind is descending. Thankfully on Extreme, the Hind does not fly low for long. It's much more aggressive. If you have that happen to you on Easy, it is extremely punishing.
Yeah, I would call that a decent fight on Extreme for sure. Having him go down just one time with one shot to go, that's ideal. I mean, only got hit once.
Totally acceptable. So we only have one more boss that is not in the any percent route that we have to deal with. Though there is another encounter that we have to deal with in this tower. The Ultra Box, the Four Horsemen, the Camo Guards, whatever you want to call them. They're very referential to Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. In fact, a lot of this game is like Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which is the second game released in the series. There's that Stinger pickup that Limes was mentioning before. As we go down these stairs, Limes is going to time cooks and throws of the grenade to take out these turrets. A little delay to make sure you don't get shot by the exploding turrets is a thing that you have to deal with particularly the first set of 4. They don't all explode at once. The timing isn't too bad, but if you are bad with the timing, you could end up blowing yourself up, and that's not only slow, but bad. Very bad.
Since I'm in good health, I'm not going to do a checkpoint here. If I was low health, I would run out the room and then run back in. They would checkpoint me, so if I were to die during this little encounter, I wouldn't have to do the stairs again, but I got enough hits to spare. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, there's 2 different ways to approach this fight that are good speedrun-wise. You either use a stun or you don't. You do want to choke these guards out. It's the fastest way to deal with them. There's 4 of them, and you're in this tight enclosed space. If you know how you're moving, you shouldn't take too many hits. At worst, 1. But you want to try to mash as fast as possible. Sometimes they'll cheese you, but it's okay. Totally fine, totally adequate.
And we still have a ration, which is nice.
Yeah, our health is looking pretty good. Remember, folks, we do not have another health refill until the final, like, onslaught of bosses. So, sort of like the first chunk of the game where we have a very long time before we have a health refill on extreme. So Wolf 2, Limes, what did you just do?
Well, I leaned very so lightly into the trigger, and she just didn't know what to do there, so she just whiffed and missed.
Man, she is just not on the ball today. Like, you punched her in the face, and then she just, like, completely misses the shot. I mean, jeez. Okay, but she's gonna fight you now.
Wow.
And
Wow,
she's-
what is this? Oh my god.
Whoa. Okay. All right. So, all joking aside, this fight is absolute garbage. This is the worst fight in this whole game. Wolf 2, this arena is absolute trash, and she can decide to double back, I guess quadruple back on that hill. This arena is so much larger than Wolf 1, and she has a lot more hiding spots. She's just annoying to deal with, but you're seeing Limes go for these really good tracking shots. You want to try to do this as much as possible, and use the R1 unequip re-equip to stop the trembling. So you don't need diazepam. That was a really good fight, other than her trolling you at the start.
Yeah, that was whack, but yeah, I'll take that fight all day long.
That was a roller coaster. At first I was like mad, then I was happy, so it all turned out well. Oh, make sure to get your CDs ready, folks. We're about to do a disc swap. And by disc swap, I mean virtual disc swap.
Disc 2.
Disc 2, not Disc 3. That's VR missions. That's a totally different run. Start at Disc 2 has the blast furnace. And our challenge here is to get past this crane in some way. But very good setup is throwing a stun grenade at the frame of the door. You got to take out this guard, and then that'll stun all the guards in this room. There's another guard in the room. But if there's a closed door, it won't cause an alert. So even though the stun is behind a door, it will still stun everyone in the room. This is why the stun grenades are so overpowered. They have infinite range and they go through walls. It's ridiculous. And then cook a grenade at a certain time to throw the grenade and take out this guard really well down from Limes. That is a tricky room. And now we have the cargo elevator fight, which tends to give people a lot of trouble when they start this game. And on extreme, you know, we have our health to worry about. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's why I had health, so whatever.
Yeah, the whole thing is we're trying to move very precisely and very quickly and do quick throws, which is the... I didn't even explain quick throws, my word. Using the... You can do it with chokes as well, is re-equipping your weapon to cancel the animation of throwing or choking. And if you do that, you can move very quickly. Using the stinger to take out the turret, that is pretty slick.
Yeah, I want to keep the spare health that I have just in case. I don't want to be down to one hit for the rest of the game, so that it's quicker than using the chaff.
Yeah, the chaff is actually the worst choice there. Either you want to just book an FPV and wait it out, or because that's what I would do personally, but the stinger, also a very good option. You just have to get yourself in the proper position. Oh, thanks to Jay for the 5 gifted subs to the community. Much appreciated, Jay. So much happens at this part of the game, even on console. Like, we usually say like PC, it's like super fast, but even on console, Just so much happens as you transition from disc 1 to disc 2. In fact, we have our next boss fight right here, Vulcan Raven. This big boy, he likes to run. He runs always on extreme, whereas on the lower difficulties, he only starts running when he takes a certain amount of health. It's not that big of a deal because we're going to completely cheese this fight by getting him stuck in a loop with the Nikita missile, which, fun fact, you can't do this on the original Japanese release of the game. It doesn't work for some reason. All you have to do here is just get as close to this crate as possible and just start shooting Nikita missiles. And he'll just keep on trying to shoot this Nikita and just fail. Just absolutely fail.
The most important thing for this fight is you got to keep him faced in the direction I have him faced right now. So he's looking at the missile. If you hit him from the south, then he's going to run away because when you fire the next missile, he's not going to be able to track it and then you'll lose this little loop. So if you have to adjust to hit him, do it.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do on extreme. Trying to reinitiate the loop on extreme is not advised because we plan it all around like we're going to keep this loop. Plan B is a mess. It's just not worth it. The good thing is that that's not that hard of a fight compared to the other ones earlier in the game, so we're all good. And typically, well, in the past, people would learn extreme starting with any percent because it's a lot easier. So you still always fight Raven even on any percent. Disc 2 is pretty similar, it's just that you have access to more weapons on all bosses. So the turrets they look menacing, but as long as you take a certain line through Warehouse North, which is that area right there with the waterfall, you won't get shot. And we just saw our first glimpse at our tough customer, Metal Gear Rex. Nuclear-equipped walking battle tank, etc., etc. We're going to be disabling this machine in about 15 minutes, 16 minutes, give or take.
Now there's only one guard in this entire area that we have to deal with, but he can be a royal pain to deal with. So I have the SOCOM out. I'm just going to take him out as I approach him. That way I don't have to deal with him.
Yeah, there are ways to deal with this guard stealthily on extreme, several of them. But just taking him out with the gun is ideal. And we have plenty of ammo to spare because we got ammo when we dealt with the elevator guards. So it's all good. So our PAL card is going to get shot out of our hands, and all those alerts we've been farming throughout the game are leading to this point. There are two different ways that the PAL sequence can go. Either the rat has the PAL card if you have under a certain threshold of alerts, or you have the PAL card randomly in the ditch. D-Limes discovered, I guess that was like 2 years ago now? 1 year? I don't even remember.
2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. Okay, thank you. It was 19. Or
20.
something. It was 20. Okay. Time means nothing.
We're in 22 now, so.
Yeah. Okay, so
whatever.
Things have changed a lot in this game, folks. Give me a break. So the PAL card being in the ditch is on average faster than the rat having it. There's 7 different positions, one of which has the time bomb in it. The rest have ammo or the PAL card. So we're hoping for position 6. We count them from west to east, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He got position 5, was it? Which is
Four.
Four, which is really good still. Like I said, on average, the positions are quite good.
Yeah, positions 4, 5, and 6 are better than the best possible rat, so that's really good.
Yeah, the only caveat to that is if you do 4, 5, and 6, and let's say you got position 4, but the bomb is in position 5, you have to throw that bomb out. It's just like the time bomb that Ocelot puts in your inventory if you survive the torture. It will insta-kill you, so you have to throw it out, and that loses about 4 seconds. So that's the only little issue with this strategy, but otherwise it avoids a lot of the headaches that involve the rat. The rat is quite complicated in knowing how to deal with, to put it simply. To put it mildly, being able to just know how to do a line is much simpler compared to dealing with a rodent. The rodent is quite challenging. Nice little shoot against the guard. Get him out of the way. And now we are going to do the legendary PAL backtrack side quest, main quest. Of course, the skip that was discovered last year was skipping more of the towers, but not this part of the game, which is the part of the game we all wish was shorter. Thankfully, in the remake, it is shorter. You never leave this room called the underground base, because you can shoot pipes that freeze and heat the key, but in the original game, we have to backtrack to freeze the key.
42. I'm just calling that out so I remember that.
Yeah, we will have to wait about 1 minute and 1 second to let the key freeze or heat, and then backtrack to input it into each computer. If someone can find a way to remove this, we would highly appreciate it, and we will reward you handsomely with cold hard cash. So do consider that. This is honestly, the PAL sequence is the biggest thing holding this game back, I would say. If we could just remove it or make it much smaller, this run would be... It's still a good run, don't get me wrong, but this is probably its Achilles heel.
Yeah, this would be the ultimate skip, the grand prize, or whatever you want to call it. Any percent categories, if we had skipped this sequence, would just be so short. But yeah, sometimes it's nice to do this sequence if you're on good pace or need a break or whatever. Like, it's not all bad, but if you grind it like I do, it can get old very quickly.
Yeah, it's a nice place to just relax, and this whole sequence is... There's still movement that we have to concern ourselves with, and even on extreme, if you're doing this all stealthily for Big Boss, you have to concern yourself with how you move for this guard outside of the room. But otherwise, it's fairly ho-hum stuff. We enter the blue key, just run straight for the computer. The camera does spot us. That's okay. And we use a really cool chair trick, as I call it, to just run left with the gun equipped, and the camera will just not spot you. Depending on what you have equipped, the camera can or cannot spot you. This game is very subtle. Even though it's an old game, it's quite subtle. Just the difference of how Snake is holding a weapon will change whether a camera or a turret can spot him or not. Which is... Sometimes I feel like I underestimate the level of intricate design in these games, and then you see stuff like that.
Yeah, for a 20-some-odd-year-old game at this point, the level of detail and little things, it's amazing. Even to this day, we still learn stuff.
Yeah, if you want a good way to waste your time in this game, try to find all the unique camera angles of Snake, like, going against a wall and the camera panning around. There are a lot of funky ones that the vast majority of people, like 99.8% of people, would never do, but they're in the game for whatever reason. So this is the really chunky one, which is the red card. We have to go all the way back up to the blast furnace. We have to sit through a couple of codec calls, sit on this very slow elevator. So this is... the blue card isn't so bad, but the red card is quite rough. So my question to you, Limes, is what the heck is next with this game? I thought this game was like fairly set, and then at the start of last year it changed on PC, and then halfway through the year, yeah, something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Liquid skip, I don't know. Like, that would be decent as well. Like, I don't know. I think this game is tapped out, but we all thought that. And then look what happened with Boba.
Yeah, PC got some very interesting breaths of life throughout the year last year. I quite like where PC is. It's just really become its own thing, even more so, even on all bosses, which is really cool, thanks to finds there. But the fact that you can find something that's completely version agnostic, that totally flips the game, it's pretty wild. And furthermore, it's crazy to think, like, every year I'm like, this is the best time to get into MGS1, and it just keeps on getting better and better. So if you want to learn this game, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun run. Oh, we're gonna see Limes come over here to pick up the body armor, stingers, chaff grenades. You need, at the very least, these stingers. It's non-negotiable. You just do not have enough for Rex on Extreme. But the body armor is just a nice little bonus, since that'll reduce our bullet damage. Now we just wait it out. That little blackout when you transition into that pipe room does count against the PAL card. Along with if you menu or like go into the codec, that counts against you. So we try to minimize anything we're doing while we're freezing and heating the key.
Yeah, normally in runs we don't check whether the card has changed or not, but just a little safety, just in case. There could be some variance in that room with the load zones we got to go through in the boiler room, so better safe than sorry, because if you don't heat it, then you have to redo that whole sequence again. And if you don't check it, then you got to do all the backtracking again, so don't want that.
for all of the people joining us for the first time or returning, welcome to Metal Gear Speedrunners on twitch.tv. If you are unfamiliar with this community, we are the primary community for speedrunning the Metal Gear series, whether that be the solid games, the 2D games, the spin-offs, what have you. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider dropping us a follow or subscribing to the channel. Highly appreciated. We actually added a bunch of emotes recently to the channel, some follower emotes and new sub 1 emotes, so hope you enjoy those. We do have events planned throughout the year from the community, people participating. This is just the first one, the first taste. We're getting in on the ground floor this year in 2022 with January 2nd. So I hope you all have a great year, and I look forward to what's coming up next with Metal Gear in 22. 21 was a pretty awesome year, thoroughly.
This codec is one of the longest ones in the game as well. And you get this on any percent or all bosses.
Yeah, it's useful to watch the talking head animation. Like, it's good to know how the script goes, because you can't just mash as hard as possible, but there are points where you can slow down at various points if you need a rest. You don't want just like max mash speed. It's not so simple, because there's an association between the talking head animation and the script advancing. So like the TAS, when the Englishman made the TAS, which is sadly quite outdated at this point, but that's nothing against him. It's still a very good TAS. It's just this game has changed so much in the last 5 or so years. He had to go quite in detail to precisely mash at the best speed for every script.
Just getting rid of a chaff there. I don't need it, so just wasting ammo.
On the PC version, we can just use the hotkeys on the keyboard to change our weapons, so things like weapons getting in the way isn't a concern, but on console it is. And dlimes showing off the cool technique of skating, which you just swap your weapon at a fairly good pace, and that will silence your footsteps because his foot never lands on the floor. He just kind of sort of skates around, and that prevents that audio cue of the guard hearing us. Thankfully, we're finally done doing this podunk nonsense, going back and forth to this computer room, and now everything turns yellow for some reason. And then we call Otacon and say, please make it not yellow. And he says, no problem, bud. No problem. I will make it less yellow.
Little trick there to look at first person view, and then the camera changes as soon as the codec call is coming in. That way you can answer it quickly. Shoutouts to Apache Smash for that. And here is the Metal Gear Rex fight.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to approach this fight on Extreme. You can lean in first person to avoid taking damage. You can actually move physically in the environment. What you're going to see dlimes do is do a little cute spin after shooting the missile, and that's going to dodge the laser. You got to move pretty fast, like the laser travels pretty quickly, on Extreme. But as long as you know that pacing, it's really not that bad. I'd say out of every fight in this game, this is the one people probably complicate the most casually. It's actually not that hard of a fight. It's just a this character is very imposing. So you freak out, but if you know how to abuse Rex, it's pretty simple. Rex 2, though, the second phase is a bit trickier because we're not dealing with Ray Dome nonsense. But thankfully, since we have the body armor, the machine gun does minimal damage to us, mostly. Damage does vary in this game. So if you've been paying attention to the damage Limes has been taking, some of them have been little, some have been more. And that tends to be quite annoying when you're dealing with Extreme, but still a totally fine fight. A few missiles miss, but who cares?
So for this next part, I'm going to remove my headphones and Plywood will take you through it.
Yeah, so we're about to do the Liquid Infinite right after we skip the 2.5-ish minute cutscene that Integral allows us to skip. The other versions of this game that are non-integral, so not the PC port and not this PlayStation release in Japan, requires you to sit through a cutscene. So that's a nice little benefit of Integral. This fight is also pretty legendary in terms of the speed run. We're going to try to initiate an infinite punch combo. You can either do a single punch combo or a double punch combo. If you're interested in learning this, I have tutorials on my YouTube channel that go into detail about how this fight works. But essentially you need to do a fairly fast galloping motion and get Liquid stuck into a corner, because the corners are essentially walls. Doing a pretty standard 2-throw setup and getting Liquid right at this corner. And it's looking pretty good. It's all about that initiation and then the follow through. Sometimes Liquid can still just sort of fall out of it, which is really annoying, especially on Extreme. He does nutso damage to Snake. But that was a supremely good fight. Just typical stuff. Another day at the office for dlimes13. Yes, there are faster setups where you do 1 throw or 0 throw, but 2 throw is quite good as long as you know how to do the initiation well. That's the key part. That is the key part.
Yeah, it was a decent fight for sure, but there's been some new developments even with this sequence coming up.
Yeah. This part still just I just start giggling because it's just ridiculous. So we learned through the magic of people messing around that if you, well, checkpoint 1 is standard. What we're gonna do is just line up our gun at a certain part in the Jeep and shoot the explosive barrels to knock out these guards. This hasn't changed, but checkpoint 2 used to be one of the most annoying parts of this end sequence, and now it's a complete joke. If you use the D-pad or use the movement on the second controller, you can actually manipulate the guards to move, and it just makes this whole thing a joke. The guards start running through the walls.
They got away.
Sometimes they get away. But it makes this way more consistent. This checkpoint 2 was really rough in terms of the luck factor, and now with this second controller trick, it makes it a lot easier. And now we fight Liquid Snake yet again. He just keeps on coming back for more. He's a glutton for punishment. What we're gonna do is fan in to shoot Liquid. He starts shooting much faster on Extreme compared to the lower difficulties, so you have to fan in more quickly. You don't want to keep on aiming at him. You gotta just position it properly and shoot in. When he transitions to phases, we want to get a couple of easy shots on him so we don't spend as much time in the next phase. This is the tunnel bumper phase. What you want to try and do is get a really clean shot as he bumps into you, and then he won't be knocked back as far, but it's really tough to do. You can just keep on shooting and hope you get it, or try to precisely do it. I don't know if it's frame perfect, but it's pretty dang close. Then we're going to go back to fanning back and forth. Fanning back and forth. It's okay if we take some damage, like you're expected to take some exchanges. As long as you're exchanging damage, it's all good. Again, really nice with those 2 transition shots, and we go into the side-by-side phase. Just try to find that nice spot where you hit liquid, and he matches you. Very pretty, going into third person to show off, and then finally knocking us over and over again. The final shot, most people shoot, actually is not necessary, funny enough, which Limes discovered. And that was Metal Gear Solid.
That's time. Fade to white is time.
Yep. In terms of our GDQ timing, that is the time.
Yeah, this was a really good run. A little iffy on the escape. I had a iffy cargo elevator fight. Other than that, I mean, this was a good run.
Yeah, good luck throughout. Honestly, like the luck factor was. I mean, I don't think he had like many fast elevators, but that's minor. That's pretty minor. Like everything else was pretty nice.
Yeah, I would take this run all day long for sure. Kind of curious on my IGT. I don't think this is record, but it might be in the ballpark.
We should sit through it. Folks, do you think we should see if this is world record on this marathon run? I think we should, right?
It's the last run of the day. We got nothing better to do.
Exactly.
Be the last run at GDQ as well. Closing that thing.
Yeah, that is a huge honor that our community gets to end the event, which is I don't think I would have predicted that 4 years ago. But here we are. Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
When that schedule came out, I was like scrolling. I'm like, where the hell am I? Like I kept scrolling and scrolling. I didn't do a search because I was on my phone. Like, what? And then I looked at the bottom, like, what? No, why? I was surprised. I was very shocked. But it's an honor for sure to close and represent this community for sure.
And shout outs to Apache, who is was supposed to run today, but he was ill, and hopefully he'll recover in time for the event for GDQ. Wishing him a speedy recovery. Knock on wood, he'll be co-commentating with me.
Yeah, that'll be a good time for sure.
Be a fantastic time. And he will be running Metal Gear Solid 2 Blindfolded Tanker as a bonus game, which, folks, you should definitely try to help and make that get met. It's going to be a fun run to watch. If you're curious about that run, we had a race between Apache Smash and the Lightning Strikes at our Metal Gear Solid 2 20th anniversary marathon, and that was just a wild thing to watch. So if you want a preview of that run, check that out. It's very cool.
Yep, you can find that on our YouTube.
So here's a question for you. I don't know if you've decided this. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. After GDQ's done, are you gonna keep on like running this game, or what are your plans?
I mean, I'll probably run this for a few days, like this category. Like, here's the thing with MGS1. Like, I have basically all the records aside from a couple ILs. Big whoop. I don't really have any real reason to run this game right now. I usually just come back when something gets taken, and then I take it, and then I move on with my life. So I'll do this for a bit, clean up anything else I need to clean up, and then it's probably on to MGS2 very easy to get my record back in that.
Oh, very nice. That'll be cool to watch. Seeing more VE action. That record is quite optimized.
Yeah, it's good, but I'm comfortable enough with those Emma zips that I think I'm gonna incorporate them into the run.
Very cool. Yeah, just to repeat, folks, if you are just coming in to Metal Gear Speedrunners today in 2022, want to offer a huge welcome. Definitely join our Discord server or visit our website, www.metalgearspeedrunners.com. Of course, want to give a big thanks to everyone that participated in this event today. All three runners, Blue Metal, Sergeant Silent, and dlimes13. And for the commentators and the hosts and the people helping on the back end, we have some very cool plans in the works for this channel and for community events. So please stay tuned. Do appreciate that.
Couple more minutes on good old credits here that we cannot skip on console. On the PC version, we can skip all these credits.
The PC version has so many perks to it. As long as you can accept its downfalls and its flaws, I think it in general is a positive thing. It's just that the console version has its own appeal because of the control and the limitations of what you can and cannot do. I love that, like in the 5 years I've been running this game or whatever, like every category has sort of become its own thing. Pretty wild.
All right, we are at the end of the credits. We will hear Ocelot say a few words, and we'll see if this is close. I think it might be close. I'm not sure if it's going to be over the top. Should probably look and see what the record is. I don't remember offhand.
Unit was wiped out. Those two are still alive. The Vector?
Well,
Yes, sir.
I know for a fact
Guys,
that it's
come at
decent.
soon. Right on schedule.
I would agree.
Yes,
It's
sir.
a 127.43 IGT. That is the time to beat. I think if I were to hazard a guess,
Nobody knows who I really am.
I would say this is probably like a 128-ish.
Sharp chief knew my identity, but he's been disposed
But
But
I don't know.
that's my guess.
Yes. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, if this was a 123, no, something would be wrong.
That would be highly, highly suspect. That's like an easy time.
I was very close. Okay. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
That is a really good run in a marathon context, folks. 128.22. Clean, clean, clean. Call this man Mr. Clean. He's got
No
the supplies.
No continues. That's really my goal, is no continues, and then just stay under my estimate, which my estimate really doesn't matter. So, but yeah, that's good. I would take this for sure.
Yeah, you could have literally sat through credits and you'd still meet estimate. So
Yep.
I call that a win. I
Yep.
would definitely call that a win.
That was, I'm sure everyone will agree, an absolutely amazing run. Well done, Limes. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing that you're going to be closing AGDQ 2022. We are all extremely excited for all of our runners today. So please, chat, give your appreciation to all of the runners, all of the commentators. It's been an absolute delight. Remember, AGDQ runs from Sunday, January 9th, all the way through to the following Sunday. So please make sure you check it out. Check out our runners. Go and give them your support because they do a fantastic job and it's going to be amazing. So any last words from Limes and Plywoods?
I'm probably gonna go take a nap.
I'm gonna go to bed soon too, but I appreciate for entirely different reasons. But that being said, I'm really happy that we got to see such quality runs. The people in this community that get into GDQ are really talented individuals, and I say that not because the people who don't get into GDQ aren't talented, but we're just showstoppers, and I want to thank everyone for putting in the effort, and gratitude to the community in general for building what we have built.
Said.
All right. In that case, we are going to call it a close on this warning shot. I do hope you all enjoy GDQ. Best of luck to all of our runners.